Welcome to the Fire Sprinkler Podcast with Chris and Logan. May 17th to 23rd is Home Fire Sprinkler Week, brought to you by the National Fire Sprinkler Association and the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition. At 11 a.m. Eastern Time, join the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition for a Facebook Live presentation on why it's important to spread the word about the life-saving benefits of home fire sprinklers. This episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast is the NFSA virtual conference follow-up with Shane Ray and Vickie Pritchett. We discuss the takeaways from the conference, if they'll continue the virtual portion of the conference in the future, and what NFSA has planned for Home Fire Sprinkler Week. Shane Ray, the president of NFSA, offered a challenge to John Galt, the president of CASA, for next year's Home Fire Sprinkler Week. Stay tuned to find out what that challenge was. Follow the podcast on social media by simply searching for Fire Sprinkler Podcast to stay up to date on what's happening around here as far as new content. As always, hashtag Fire Sprinkler Podcast. Without further ado, here's the NFSA virtual conference follow-up with Shane Ray and Vickie Pritchett. Enjoy.
Like and subscribe.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. Another follow-up from the NFSA conference and virtual expo. It wasn't really so much of a expo this year, but the virtual online conference. Shane Ray and Vickie Pritchett from NFSA are on. How's it going today, guys?
Going great.
Fantastic.
Everybody's keeping their hands clean, washing their hands raw, I'm assuming, with everything going on with COVID now.
Absolutely. It's today's way to do business, right?
Everything's kind of evolving very fast with business right now, and I think you're going to see a lot of virtual meetings, conferences, things like that in the future. And congratulations on being one of the first in fire protection to have a large scale conference to that extent. It was an honor to be a part of it. Sounds like it was very successful. Do you want to share some of the numbers for attendees and things like that for the conference?
Go for it, Shane.
Well, it was a record turnout, especially for us to have made the decision at our board meeting on March the 13th and then to pull this off. But it was because of the infrastructure that we had in place with the technology and the team. You can have the best technology in the world, but the team of people, and Chris, thank you for being part of that team and jumping in on the speaker's role there. And certainly we've had many conversations, but very big success. We had over 1,500 registered. So our annual business and leadership conference would normally only have an attendance of about 400 to 500 people in person. So our expo year, when we have the North American Fire Sprinkler Expo, the last one was in Nashville, and those numbers were near 1,500, but we've never had 1,500 at an actual seminar before in our history. So, and then the average height of the day, there was at one time 800 plus people on at the same time. So many of those people that registered came and went based on the speakers, but definitely very successful, and certainly thank you for being part, but special thanks to the NFSA team. And most of all, our members, because without them, the infrastructure wouldn't be possible. And this was the first conference too. We opened it up for free to everybody.
It was really crazy. Sorry, you might be able to hear my neighbor cutting the grass in the background. It was crazy to see kind of how quickly it evolved from a in-person conference that was supposed to be scheduled for Phoenix, Arizona, and how quickly you guys turned it over to a virtual event, and how efficiently all the presenters were able to take an hour and a long presentation and kind of give a 20-minute preview of what's expected for next year in Vegas. I think all the presenters did a fantastic job. Again, I've said it on almost every talk I've done, but Matt Klaus's introduction was legendary and probably going to be the hardest presentation ever to beat. It was phenomenal on all accounts. Amazing to see how smooth everything went from start to finish, as well as your presentations and kind of the live lead tos in between was very, very well done. So congratulations on that. In the future for the next events, do you think you're going to be looking towards doing something even for the in-person conference in Vegas, conference and expo? Are you going to try to include some sort of online presentation and viewing for that as well?
Absolutely, Chris. My motto for a long time from the fire protection world has always been do it different. And you
Hmm.
can believe that NFSA is going to do it different. And so we will have an awesome blended seminar. So next year in Vegas is our North American Fire Sprinkler Expo. So I hope we have over 1,500 people there because I do hope that everybody's able to get back to some state of normalcy by then. And that is the fact that the part that will be a new state of normalcy for us, though, is the fact that I hope we have over 1,500 people online. We will be streaming some of those sessions
Right.
and we will be recording some of the technical sessions. Naturally, as you do conferences and expos, you want the latest and greatest to be present. And that's part of the incentive to be there, besides the networking and being part of your peers. And there's no greater industry than the fire sprinkler industry to go be part of your peers in person. But we recognized everybody can't be. So from our online training programs, which we've been pushing for the last several years of being blended, that says, and you know, as being a firefighter now, Chris, and being in the sprinkler industry as well, there's some things you can learn online and there's some things you got to go put your hands on.
That's
And
right.
so
Yeah.
NFSA is leading the way with that. We have sprinkler trailers that we have blended learning classes that says you do things online at a self-paced program in our learning management system. And then the trailer can come to you, the mobile valve trailer and the burn demonstration units. They can come to you. You can see fire, you can control sprinklers, you can do those things. We're going to have all that in Vegas. And then we're going to bring it to you because we know that everybody can't come to the conference, but we want to bring it to them, and that's what we're going to do in 2021.
And the valve trailer that you guys have, you had that in Nashville last year, and it was fantastic. I got a tour of it. It was put together very well. And leaving Nashville, I had the idea in my head that I was going to go home and throw one together quickly. Not an easy task. It's not something you can throw together kind of overnight. I was somewhat disappointed in myself, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to have one of these up and running within maybe 2-3 months, but still not there yet. But
That was a 2-year project in and of itself,
Mhm.
Chris. So the 2 years just for the trailers, the classes, the curriculum. So there's a lot that goes into it. And that's why I'm proud to be part of NFSA, because we have the team of people again and the tools. So whether it's a trailer and a lot of sprinkler valves, or whether it's the infrastructure to be virtual and to reach people, that's what NFSA is strong for. And that's why I'm proud to support our logo is the voice of the fire sprinkler industry. And so as your voice comes across the podcast, and that's how we first hooked up, was
Yep.
getting you involved. We recognized your voice and the outreach that you had, and we wanted you to be part of our team. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for being part of this big broadcast to get the word out.
Absolutely. And it's an honor that you guys have picked me. There's more than one out there now, and I'm glad to be a part of NFSA and helping you guys move forward. How many of those trailers, both valve and side by side burn trailers, do you guys have across North America right now? Mainly the States, but how many do you have across North America?
So we have 34 side by side burn trailers, and then we have some version. We have 4 valve trailers. We have another one. Hopefully, it'll be online here before the end of the year. That will be pretty much identical to the one you've seen in Nashville.
Yep.
And then hopefully Vickie and I are working on more grant projects that
Hmm.
are due up, and hopefully that'll build us 2 more. So our goal is to have 5 of those trailers across the country that you've seen that can go with our classes.
Yeah.
And so we'd love to help put some of those in Canada as well. So as we get ready, we'll have some close to you anyway. Our team in Chicago has a version of a valve trailer. Our team in Milwaukee is
Hmm.
eager to get one of the duplicates. So we'd like to position them in the north central areas that we have, certainly out west. And then certainly we'd love to work with you all in the Canadian area to get some.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's anything I mean, you can park the thing in my driveway. My wife might not be super pumped about that, but that's okay. She'll get used to
Perfect.
it. Awesome. So, this week obviously is Home Fire Sprinkler Week across North America. Um, what have you guys been doing as far as, presentations? You're limited on what you can do because you can't gather in crowds anywhere right now. So what's NFSA doing to kind of be a part of Home Fire Sprinkler Week, and how have you guys rolled with the punches and changed your presentations for this?
So I think that I would describe that as saying that we are virtually taking it to the streets, much like we did with our conference. And we've just embraced that from all of our social media platforms, whether it be your favorite is Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn. NFSA has a very strong presence on those three, and we're ramping up our efforts with Instagram as well. But Joanne Genadio does a great job. She's the editor of the National Fire Sprinkler magazine and services all of our social media accounts. And she really does do what I call an authentic job, because she's looking for those real life examples. And if you're not following NFSA, I hope you'll consider doing so. She can find the sprinkler save for the positive angle, and also the tragic fire where there were no fire sprinklers on a daily basis. It's usually 3 or 4 or more a day that come through, and she does a great job of making us aware of what's happening in the real world. And I think that's where we have chosen to embrace this virtually across the land. Certainly we hated to cancel our live demos that we had scheduled, but because of the pandemic, we were forced to do so. But our field operations staff have been working with their chapters, and certainly all of Team NFSA is engaged at the social level. Today I've checked in a couple of times just to make sure I'm not missing anything, and we certainly will be part of the live event that is happening on Wednesday with the U.S. Fire Administrator, the President of the IFC, and Jim Pauley and Lorraine Carley. So we're really looking forward to celebrating all week long and long after, because that's I think the most exciting part about the virtual environment is it lives on.
Right. Exactly. That's the kind of the best thing about doing the podcast is I do, a 20-minute conversation, and it lives as long as the internet's around, which I don't think it's just a fad. It's going to stick around for a little while. I think this internet
it's going to be here a while. Right.
Yeah. So it's good. All those resources, all that thing is available. What is happening? You said on Wednesday, there's the, which presentations tomorrow? Do you have any more information about that?
Yes, I do. It will be on Facebook. It's a Facebook Live event. Okay. And Peg Paul with the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition shared that information. It will kick off at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and will be live, but of course it will live on their Facebook page and anyone else's that share it. So if you're watching and you can share it on yours, then the ripple just gets wider. Another really cool thing about the internet, and we certainly encourage everyone to help and share that. There are themes for each respective day. So if you go to the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition's website, or NFPA's website, or NFSA's for that matter, we have shared all of their information. And there is a day-by-day theme, but the live event is scheduled for Wednesday, May the 20th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time.
11 a.m. Eastern Time, Facebook Live. Yeah, awesome. So what stuff did you guys have to cancel in regards to Home Fire Sprinkler Week this week? I'm assuming you guys had side-by-side burns scheduled. Or was it still early?
We were so excited. Yes, our goal was to have every single one of our side-by-side trailers busy somewhere at an event during the week. And as the calendar was filling up, we were very close to having engagements booked for all of them. And I believe we have over 30 side-by-side, the traditional side-by-side unit where you're able to show a room with sprinklers and without sprinklers, showing flashover, and then of course showing how quickly the fire sprinkler activates. And we always like to say that's why we say #fastest water, because you can't get water on the fire any faster.
That's right.
But so I would say, based upon that we we canceled somewhere between 50 to 60 events because many of those units were scheduled to do more than one. So kind of disappointed in that. But again, living virtually, we've been showing and sharing the coverage that we had from Fox and Friends, where Shane was the narrator of the burn in Times Square. So again, we rely on those resources because seeing is believing, and we've watched that change minds, whether it be of policymakers, those who are adopting the code and approving the requirements for communities, or citizens making the choice of whether or not to include fire sprinklers if they live in a community that does not require them. So we certainly know that there's much value in sharing that, and we watch it work every time there is one.
There's no better presentation that you can do as far as hitting home with what we're doing in the industry than a side-by-side sprinkler demonstration. And it's also it's kind of a weird thing for people in the industry, hearing it coming from you. It was kind of weird. It's probably the only industry out there that you're hoping to set your property on fire up to 50 times in a single week. I don't know if anybody else would be. We were really hoping to light our stuff on fire 50 times this week, but the message behind it is what you're trying to get to.
We did it over 30 times last year, Chris. And not only that, Vickie sits on the board of directors for the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition as NFSA's rep.
Yep.
And with that, we also made donations that the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition would have also gave 60 fire department grants out so they could build their own side-by-side burn units, which they build on the ground. And the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition, they're built for life fire department. Anybody that hasn't signed up that's a firefighter that would be listening to that. And there's a Canadian version of that whole program too, Chris. So
yep.
The fire departments would get grants to go build those. And I'll bet, if I can predict, next year there'll be both virtual, Facebook Live, there'll be nationally live ones, but we'll also be burning across the country again as well.
Yeah, and hopefully next year I can have my own setups and I can be doing them a little bit more around here as well. I can be doing hopefully 5 or 6 down in my municipality. There's only one area around here that doesn't let you do them. It's a big municipality, but they won't let you set a fire that's unnecessary, I guess. And
yeah,
it is what it is. So yeah, that's the only hang up I have. I'm willing to do them. When I had my trailer, which we had to retire back in, we retired it back in August. I did a side-by-side demonstration at a show in southwestern Ontario here. And then after that, we got about 4 years out of it, probably 30 to 40 burns, and we got our worth out of it. It was time to retire it.
Yep.
Awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to get out? Any other messages you want to get out before we wrap things up for the day?
I think next year I would challenge our Canadian Automatic Sprinkler Association and my colleague John Galt up there that says, in addition to NFPA's Home Fire Sprinkler Week, I think the sprinkler industry should get together in North America, and we should have North American Fire Sprinkler Week, period. So fire sprinklers everywhere. As businesses return to work in the COVID environment here, we know they kept a lot of our sprinkler contractors out of the business for the times they were closed, which is a time it's good to be in. We had state fire officials. I'm sure you had some provincial fire officials there, Chris, that was saying, hey, you cannot let this test maintenance and inspection go by the wayside. You need to do it anyway. It's required by law.
That's right.
We are an essential service. And so I think next year we need to do more to heighten more than just the home. There's so many properties protected with sprinklers nowadays that we got to expand this beyond just the home. And so while I applaud NFPA and will always be a part, I think it's time to expand it to something broader. And I think during that week, we could certainly support them and take advantage of an expanded version.
Absolutely. John, the gauntlet's been thrown. Let me know if you need any help with that. I will do everything I can to support that as well. Both sides of the border. Yeah, let's get a big, let's kind of bring it, more as a home fire sprinkler week is a good thing, but fire sprinkler week in general could be big. You could get it from just talking about residential sprinkler to, you could have a day based on preventative maintenance, inspections, testing, demonstrations, things like that, so that property owners, residential and commercial, can see why it's not just a, it's not just a cost for them. It's a safety net.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, because that's the biggest, going into a property that has never had any issues with fires or anything like that, they don't see any return on investment in fire protection until you have a fire. Sometimes you get the discounts on insurance, but it's a hard sell. Fire protection is a hard sell because it's not making them money. It's not generating revenue. It's an expense to them until there's a fire. And then we're back open in a week as opposed to rebuilding.
Yeah.
Shane, Vickie, thanks for coming on and doing the wrap up for the fire sprinkler virtual conference, which again, huge success. Thanks for letting me be a part of it. If there's anything else I can do to help support NFSA, feel free to let me know. And you guys get the final word.
Thank you, Chris.
Just a big thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for being part of Team NFSA. I would be remiss to not give a shout out to each and every one of our sponsors, because they step up to the plate year after year to help us go after the best and the brightest from a standpoint of speakers and to have a first-rate conference. So book your calendar right now for May 12th through 14th, 2021 to come and get the full version of all of the whet your appetite presentations we gave at the virtual conference. We're really looking forward to it and predict a wonderful event in Las Vegas at the Cosmopolitan.
And it happens to be on the Strip, which sounds terrible.
Yes.
Guys, have a good night.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast is done. If you liked this episode, leave a review, comment, or hop over to my social media pages and let me know. Just search Fire Sprinkler Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Don't forget to hashtag Fire Sprinkler Podcast and anything you think I should know about or see. If you have any suggestions for future episodes of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast, email info@firesprinklerpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Take care.